Hi everyone, I'm Gary Null. Once again, I welcome you to our Classroom on the Air. Today's a really important one, and it's simple. You don't have to be a scientist. You just have to have a measure of discipline and common sense. It's about what is underlying the foundation of most diseases, certainly cancer, heart disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, arthritis, bursitis. It's inflammation. And here's the key. It's relatively easy to understand what is pro-inflammation, which then increases different chemicals in the body like cytokines and other pro-inflammatory markers that also increase what are called free radicals. Now, we're always going to have free radicals. Just breathing in oxygen and exhaling, that exchange between oxygen and carbon dioxide creates free radicals. It's called oxidative stress. But it's what you do beyond that that contributes to disease, or what you do to reduce that. And I'm going to give you both. I'm going to give you the bad news and the good news. The bad news is that the average American is dying much faster than what they should. In New York City, in the last 3 years, we've lost 5 years off our aging. Nationwide, it's almost 4. And we didn't have a good lifespan to begin with. Of the 40 leading developed nations in the world, we were dead last. We spend more on health care, which is really disease maintenance, than any other nation in the world. And yet we have poor outcomes. Why is it that there are countries where you can live 10 years longer in good health than in the United States? We have more hospitals, more doctors, more nurses. We have more medications. Well, maybe the answer is not having more of a medical industrial complex, but more common sense and good quality choices. If you're an average American, you're going to eat at least 1 or 2 of your 3 meals a day outside. And if you order in, you're going to order in the same foods you would eat if you went to a fast food restaurant. You're going to eat in a lot of meat, dairy, refined carbohydrates, buns, French fries, and a lot of processed sugars. Think of all those drinks, sugar-laden. None of that contributes to our health. It satisfies the appetite. It's inexpensive. Someone can say, well, Gary, I can get a home meal for under $5. Yes, and not a single thing in that meal is contributing to your longevity or health. Every single thing in that diet, every single thing that you're eating is going to contribute to the process of inflammation, which then creates free radicals, and the free radicals hit your trillions of cells. In fact, the latest study shows that we have about 10,000 gene alterations per cell per day. It's like the Chinese torture trick. You put a mask on someone, cover their eyes, and then you drip water slowly on their forehead until they go crazy. At the beginning, you don't mind it, and then you do. So it's this incremental, slow process of creating inflammation. It's just some French fries. It's just a soft drink. It's just a hamburger. Yes. How much sodium was in the hamburger? I don't know. How much sodium was on the French fries? Again, I don't know. But more importantly, how much sodium does your body require? Who knows? Well, we all know. I'm a registered dietitian. I'm a nutritionist. I'm a PhD in human nutrition, public health science, and a senior research fellow. So I know. That's where I've lived my whole adult life. Both in clinical experience, seeing tens of thousands of people, and trying to help them make these changes. It doesn't work. I wished it did. Because if it did, there'd be millions upon tens of millions of people watching my specials on PBS, would have listened to my radio show on ABC Network and WABC and WOR and WABD and BAI for 47 straight years every day. No, I've reached hundreds of millions of people in my career. And I'll bet not 5% are healthier because of it. Why? Because we are addicted. We're an addicted nation. We're addicted to comfort. Yeah, alcohol and tobacco and drugs, that also plays out. But your comfort addiction is your most lethal because you maladapt to what you're doing. Well, I'm not going to intentionally get overweight. I mean, I don't want to destroy my health. And then you go about incrementally destroying your health. Then one day you wake up and you go, wow, the doctor says I've got this, this, and this. I got to take these medications. But I don't want to change. Doc, I don't really have to change. No. Moderation in all things. Yeah. And that canard has been said countless times over the last 50 years. Everything that you eat that is processed, that becomes brown, a bagel, a French fry, potato chip, toast, all that is dangerous to your health. It's pro-inflammatory. Gluten, pro-inflammatory. Sugars, artificial sweeteners, pro-inflammatory. Alcohol in any amount. No, Gary, I heard that a glass of wine, a glass of red wine is also containing preservatives. Those preservatives are called sulfates. The sulfates are adverse and cause inflammation. There's a tiny bit of a nutrient that we get out of grapes called resveratrol. And that's good. But what are you getting in a glass? 3 milligrams? How many do you need to really benefit? About 100 or more. And really benefit if you have diseases? You'll see your functional physicians, medical doctors, using food as part of their therapy, 2,000 milligrams. So you'd have to drink 2 cases of wine a day just to get enough that you could get in one single tablet, or eating some raw grapes or drinking some grape juice. But we're comfortable. You know, I always have, that martini after golf with all the other people. That's something we saw in our parents in the 1950s and 60s. So we're carrying it forward. What's wrong with that? First of all, no alcohol tastes good. It's bitter. It's very acidic. People gag, and then they get used to it. But also, they start destroying the lining of their tongue and decreasing their sense of taste. They also hurt their esophagus. Esophageal cancer is the #1 rising cancer now in the world. It corrodes the lining of the stomach and intestines. It can cause malabsorption of the nutrients you're consuming. Also, you can have that comfort beverage. But who eats a hamburger without French fries, Gary? Yeah. You need 800 milligrams, more or less, of sodium. You can get that in a normal diet. You don't need to add salt. So you're getting out of a fast food restaurant probably in the neighborhood of 4,000 to 5,000 milligrams. You've just consumed 500% more sodium. And now you wonder why are my ankles swollen? Why do I have edema? Why is my blood pressure up? All right? So anything that you're processing is going to cause inflammation. Smoking really causes inflammation. Remember, when my parents were growing up as the greatest generation from the 1930s, 20s, and 40s, they smoked and drank. Everyone in my family smoked and drank. It was considered normal. Nobody ever got drunk, but it was a social thing they did. And they ate bad foods, and lots of it. And they didn't exercise because, well, as my mother said, my mother was very athletic. And I can actually remember as a kid, we would go out to a farm that my dad had some interest in with the owners, and I spent my summers out there a lot. And my mom and I would run through the pastures together, and she'd be laughing, and I'd be trying to catch up with her. And I saw her hurdle a fence, and I didn't know that in high school she jumped hurdles, and she was on the track team. I had no idea that. And I thought, wow, that's terrific. And then one day, my mom stopped. And also one day, she frosted her hair and put all this hairspray. My mom had beautiful, long auburn hair, always. Now it was short, that strange cut that they got with all the hairspray on it. It looked like a little beehive someone stuck on all these people's heads. And I came home and I said, Mom, what happened? She said, there's a time in life where you're transitioning, and I've made that transition. I'm 40, and I have to look 40. I have to fit in. My neighbors would be gossiping if I went running down the street. All right? and had my hair. And if I looked so much different than them, I said, Mom, but you are different than them. You're fit, they're not. You know, you have natural hair. Why are you doing this grayish kind of strange look with this strange hair that you must use 6,000 cans of hairspray to keep in place? And she just laughed, and she said, well, you'll understand when you grow up that you also have to understand you're living as a part of a community. And if all of my brothers and sisters and all of your father's brothers and sisters, and they all met every Sunday and played canasta, if I suddenly come in there and I was totally different than all of them, they're going to, let me know that what's wrong with me. So boy, was that a lesson, and that stuck in my mind, that stuck in my crawl, that my mom had to maladapt from being athletic and healthy and vibrant to fitting in. And that's the way it was where I grew up. I don't know if that's the way you experienced life, but I did that way. And to a young kid who's naive and not terribly bright, but you want to understand things and you're curious, I had a phenomenal curiosity. I just didn't know a lot. I live in a small town. What do you know when you live in a small town? You only know about things in a small town. But not big cities, not the world. We weren't exposed to that. So just imagine now, you adapt. And so smoking is normal to your adaptation. Drinking is normal to your adaptation. Eating but not exercising. Eating and then sitting all day. And the older you get, the less is expected. Take it easy. You're over 40. Take it easy. What do you mean? Well, you're getting older. I mean, 30 is middle age when I grew up. 30. So beyond 30, don't. So nobody expected anything from you. You would read Argosy or National Geographic or books. People had stacks of books they would read. But they're sitting all that time. The only time they'd walk is when they took their dog out for a walk. You never saw anyone walking, not a single soul walking where I grew up. I actually had the police stop me. And my grandfather was my godfather was the chief of police, and everyone knew me. And they stopped me and said, Gary, what are you running from? I said, I'm not running from anything. I'm just out getting in shape. Well, they had never seen that before. I guess they'd never seen anyone outside of high school, and there was no college in my hometown. But outside of high school, nobody exercised. They would play softball in the summertime, yeah, and they'd play some sandlot basketball. But that was it. So you saw everyone reach a peak at 30 and just go downhill to death. So if a person lived to be 65, that's a good life. They had 70, wow, they lived to be 70. 75, that rare exception, it's a miracle they lived to be 75. So nobody had dementia because nobody lived long enough to develop dementia. So every single thing in their lifestyle was pro-inflammatory. Now, can you reverse that? Yes, you can. But you also have to reverse all the damage that you did to your body when you were taking in all the soft drinks, the meat, the fried food, the fried chicken, the fried fish, the breads, all that is acrylamides, which is a chemical that is pro-inflammatory, and a heterocyclic amines from animal proteins when you cook them that is pro-inflammatory, super pro-inflammatory. And then smoking on top of that, drinking on top of that, lack of exercise on top of that, nutrient deficient on top of that, and not dealing with stress. Where I grew up, you were supposed to hold it in and let it go. Well, people held it in, at least in public, and then they let it go, almost always, in inappropriate manners, yelling, fights, arguments, but no resolution to anything. You couldn't get divorced. Why can't you get divorced? Well, because, it's till death do us part. You have nothing in common. Well, I know, but how would it look? And suddenly you care more about how something is perceived than your own future. That's what life was like where I grew up. And that's what life is like today, except we absolutely go out and indulge ourselves without the thought of what it's going to do. So that's the pro-inflammatory. Disease is going to happen irrespective. Now, what is the antidote? First, make sure that you're nutrient solid. Get a simple blood test for all of your B vitamins, C-reactive protein, homocysteine, fibrinogen, because if those homocysteine, C-reactive protein, fibrinogen, triglycerides, and cholesterol elevated, you're at a greater risk of a heart attack or stroke. Then get all your nutrients, vitamin D3, magnesium, calcium, zinc, vitamin C, B complex. Get a simple blood profile. It tells you if you're in a normal range, good. If you're in a high range or low range, so you can correct them. Proper intelligent supplementation. And the more vitamin C and antioxidants you take, vitamin E, tocotrienols, vitamin D3, those in the blood, they glom onto a free radical and neutralize it. So the more antioxidants you have, and fruits and vegetables where you get your antioxidants, a fresh glass of orange juice, fresh glass of grapefruit juice, fresh glass of celery, cucumber, and lemon juice, the more free radicals you neutralize. The fruits and vegetables, 9 servings a day, is ideal. Nuts and seeds, raw, not salted and roasted, and every kind of nut you can eat, and every kind of seed, chia seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, all of those are healing, give you proteins, amino acids. So too do beans. Beans are very important. Low in calories, high in fiber, high in amino acids, proteins. Whole grains, but don't have refined grains, don't have refined carbohydrates. Have starchy vegetables, rutabaga, bok choy, parsnips, turnips, sweet potatoes. Have a full menu of seaweeds, and you can season them the way you want. Mushrooms, these are very important for you. And juicing, 4 glasses of juice a day. Fresh juice, not out of a bottle. If you eat this way, and you exercise every day, and you deal with stress appropriately, then you're having about 80% of the inflammation gone. That means instead of 10,000 gene alterations per day by free radicals, it might be 2,000, even 1,000 if you're able to keep calm. And that's important. Your heartbeat will come down, your blood pressure will come down, your blood sugar will come down, and you're going to be feeling vital. And you'll add years onto your life, decades onto your life. There's no reason that anyone watching right now can't live to be 110 in good health. So, that's why inflammation is important. Thank you for watching, and remember, every day you can go to PRN.Live and watch my show, or go to the archive and download it, or go to GaryandAll.com. Have a nice day.
Are you tired of closed-minded programming? Well, look no further than PRN.Live, the home for progressive voices.